Hello and welcome to the Bytes Modern Workspace Innovation event. I'm Aaron Goddard, Modern Workspace Sales Lead at Bytes. Today we are here with Gareth Johns, Senior Director, Vertical Solutions at RingCentral, to talk about key innovations for 2022 and what trends we are seeing in the unified comm space. Gareth, would you like to do a very quick introduction?
Hi, Aaron. Thank you very much for the warm welcome, and it's a great pleasure to be here and participate in the Bytes Workplace Innovation Summit. As you mentioned, I'm Gareth Johns, and the role that I have at RingCentral is really to look at how our customers can really use our proposition in particular kind of key verticals. So for RingCentral, that's across public sector, financial services, and so on. So yeah, really pleased to be here, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting conversation.
Thank you, Gareth. Yes, let's dive straight into this. I do have a few questions that I'd like to pose that are in line with the theme. And my opening question, well, I suppose it's more of a double-headed question, is regard to trends. I'd like to get your thoughts on both current and market trends.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, thank you for those. And as you mentioned, a bit of a double header. So let me take the 2 points. So if I look at current trends first, and one of the things that we're seeing right now, and probably I expect anybody who's watching this is top of mind is around hybrid working. Now, it's not a new phrase. Obviously, it's something that's come into the lexicon over the past year, 18 months or so. But one of the things that I think, and my colleagues kind of share this, and it'd be interesting to know if you and others share this as well, is that actually there's no definitive example really around successful hybrid working because we're all just still at the start of the journey. We don't really understand how it's all going to work. We've got some really good ideas about it and things that we know that we're going to have to do. And I'd probably argue that no one has done it yet. So we can't really turn around and say, this is the exemplar, this is the best practice. But just staying with that, I think that as much as it's about, well, it is actually as much about leadership and management as it is about the technology that will enable and empower individuals. Because when we look at the first aspect about leadership and management, we are going to have to develop and adapt to having teams that are going to be operating in different modes, different locations, and so on. Now, we may already have been doing that during the past 18 months or so, but as we start to get into this hybrid working environment where we're going to have people in the office, people remote, and even if you are doing something in an office environment, you're still going to have members of your team who are remote. And how do you provide that wholly inclusive environment? Then this is where the approach around leadership and management really kind of comes into play. Now, that's a kind of first part of that interesting dynamic around hybrid working. And when we look at the technology aspect, what we're also seeing is that customers who are, in essence, they are reviewing their pandemic choice and determining whether what they chose at that time, and from a technology stack aspect, actually meets their longer term strategy, or whether they've got to review that and adjust it and change. So in the current trends, it's probably those points. And if I switch for a second and look at market trends, let me kind of break this into two areas as well. So from a RingCentral aspect, we're seeing the first one I describe about transition of legacy environments. So probably almost as a counter to the previous point, that coming out of the pandemic, we're seeing customers who are, well, maybe they've gotten by during the past 2 years or so with their existing platforms, and what they're doing now is they're evaluating what is that long-term strategy, what is the right way for them to be going, and determining what their strategy and roadmap and where next should be. And over the past couple of years as well, RingCentral we've established exclusive partnerships with a number of those legacy communication providers. Avaya was the first one out of the gate, and most recently Mitel. And what that's really doing is it's giving their customers a migration path to cloud communications. So really aligning with where their strategy and roadmap may be. And a second trend that we're seeing again around these market trends is really about integrations. So this is ensuring that the choices that customers make, that they are open, that they are extensible, that they can integrate into their existing line of business applications that they may be using. So that's an area where it could be just as simple as, can I bring my communications into my primary business app so that I'm not having to do application switching, or something more in depth, almost on a kind of platform integration aspect, so that they can get the benefits of their existing environment and also whatever new they may be bringing in. But the aspect that underpins all of that is open APIs and making sure that both sides, or however many sides of the equation, have got those open APIs in order to establish that that ease of communication.
Thanks, Gareth. You touched upon legacy environments and integrations, and at Bytes, these are areas that are key for our customers, especially around integrations. Can you elaborate slightly more on that topic?
Sure, absolutely. So the approach that we have around integration, if I describe it really simply, we kind of can look at it in three aspects. So one is around a no code, secondly around low code, and then the third pro code. So let me unpack those a little bit more. The no code is really, we have an integration with an application that is available out of the box. So that is something that you can just download from the RingCentral App Store and you can install it and get going. So an example might be the integrations that we have into Google Workspace or into Microsoft Dynamics. So that's an out of the box, I say no code. The low code aspect, well, we've got the ability to, if you have a web based app, in 15 minutes you can, potentially even less, you can embed a RingCentral dialer into your application. So really embracing that aspect of making it as simple as possible to bring that communication capability into an application that you may already have. And then the third element, ProCode, that's exactly what it sounds like and builds upon my previous point about having full APIs so that you can really do in-depth integration into your application. But kind of going back to one aspect around the no code, and one area that we've been doing a lot of work over the past 18 months or so is the integration that we have into Microsoft Teams. And we do that at a number of levels to make sure that we give customers the most amount of choice that we can possibly do, so that they can expand and really complete or complement Teams with really robust enterprise telephony capabilities. So that's where we have really kind of quite neat integrations into Teams so that you can do full direct routing if that's a route you want to go down. Or alternatively, if you just want to stay with, for example, an E1 or an E3 license, that actually one of the things you can do is use our embedded dialer. So you've got really kind of a couple of nice flexible options. But looking across the rest of the kind of partners in the agenda who are attending this summit, we also have really good integrations with Citrix and VMware. So if you're running in one of their VDI environments, you can use the RingCentral application suite in there, and it's fully optimized for working within a VDI, as I say, production environment. And one last aspect around these integrations is that not all of them are done by RingCentral. We have an ecosystem of partners and ISVs, independent software vendors, who have built upon the RingCentral platform and integrated deeply in it, so that more additional services can be offered. And a couple of examples of that might be around how we can do additional kind of recording capabilities that may better suit in certain compliance or industries where you have greater obligations around those things. So that's just a very simple example of one of our ISV partners, Liquid Voice, who have got that capability.
Thanks, Gareth. At Bytes and as part of the modern workspace practice, we're always looking for technologies that offer fantastic or best in breed customer experience, user experience. Can you share some sort of key insights and best practices around customer experience?
Oh, that was a bit of a tough one. But yes, is a short answer. As part of the RingCentral kind of portfolio, we often describe it as being kind of two halves. One which is focused on employee communications, and if you were to put a label against that, that's where you'd say it's the UCaaS aspect. And then another one which is around customer engagement, and that's where our contact center and associated services, that's where that really falls into play. And as we're looking at this year, at 2022, we're seeing that there's a real focus across probably three or four areas. So one which, and this isn't new, but it's been building and building and building, is making sure that we are really supporting and serving customers in their channel of choice. So what I mean by that is that we're not just restricting users to okay, you can only contact us by phone. And I know that many organizations have expanded that already with additional digital channels, which may be, okay, they can access via web chat or via email, or also via some social media messages, social media methods, but also from both a customer experience and from an agent experience, consolidating that, bringing it together, so that if I start something on a web chat and then I stop that and then I pick it up on a WhatsApp channel, that actually there is stickiness, there is cohesiveness, and that the conversation continues. So as a customer, I'm not having to re-explain myself. As an agent, I've got the full history and I can marry those two bits up so that I know that it's Aaron who's contacted me, and I can continue off. And I'm getting to that point of being able to give your first contact resolution. So making sure that we can draw that thread between all those digital channels, but ultimately make sure that we are not foisting a channel, a communications channel on the customer, that they can choose what they want. So that's one which is really kind of again building during this year because of growth of more and more channels. Second aspect, and again, I'm going to sound like a bit of a broken record here, which is we kind of describe it as collaborating beyond the contact center. And that's where we're talking about integrating into the key applications that you may use. So that's something that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago about how important that is to integrate into key business applications. And it's the same for the contact center as well, making sure that the agent can stay within the applications that they're using the most. So if they're in local government, for example, that they're in housing, they're in the housing app, that's where they stay, that they don't have to break out, to do their interactions and service to customers. The third area, I'd look at that as enabling agents from anywhere. And again, this is something that probably organizations have been doing, but we're taking that a step further, which is it doesn't matter where they may be based, where they may be working from, but making sure that we can give them real-time interactions and guidance around the call that's going on, and coaching, so that again the customer is getting the best outcome, and that they are ensuring as much as possible that they can get FCR, first contact resolution, to that call that comes in, or that query, whatever channel it may be. And I kind of mentioned 3/4. Probably the last one would be around operational agility, which again sounds a bit vague, but let me kind of try and give an example of just being able to really quickly adapt to whatever the changing environment might be. So, for example, over the past couple of weeks, we've had a lot of weather disturbance. So, being able to just both provide messages to your callers, to your inquiries, but also be able to support your agents as well. And that may mean being able to kind of easily and quickly kind of ramp up for a period in response to what's kind of going on. The proverbial, we're going to have a lot of people contacting about what's going on, insurance claims and so on. Now, again, that's not new, but what we're seeing, and certainly from the work that we're doing at RingCentral, is that we're making that easier to achieve, much more streamlined, so that there's less friction, both from an operational side, which then translates into easier and better experience for customers. And if you can indulge me just for one more second, Aaron, probably a really nice example about that scaling up capability, and it's something that it's a case study that we're really proud of, and it's something that that was released last month. Is work that we did with an organisation called Sitel in supporting a large government communications program that contacted people on a regular basis over the past 2 years. I think that's the best way that we can describe it, where we scaled up to 20,000 agents in 8 weeks. So that's that is a huge amount. But again, what that typifies is the power and scalability that's in cloud and cloud comms, just to be able to kind of do that, roll it out, and also have integrations into the core applications that they were using, to the extent that we were seeing something like 60 million API calls a day going in, which equated to, again, a lot more agent efficiency and effectiveness.
Thanks for that, Gareth. Really does demonstrate the flexibility, but also the scalability that a platform like RingCentral can bring to an organization, but maintaining that fantastic user and customer experience. Brilliant. Thank you for that. I suppose before we wrap up, one final question really. Might seem simple, but what does innovation mean for RingCentral?
So innovation is one of the, I guess, 3 points of a triangle that we often like to talk about at RingCentral, which is tips. So we talk about trust, innovation, and partnership. So just bear with me whilst I quickly kind of go around that triangle. So trust is exactly what it sounds like. It's the ensuring that customers have the trust in RingCentral as a provider. And that can be around the reliability of the platform, the fact that we give a 5 nines SLA. It could be around the security certifications that we hold, to underpin those. On the partnership aspect, I touched upon that a little bit earlier around partnerships that we have with key service providers. So from a UK aspect, Vodafone, BT, and then we look a little bit wider than that. We have key partnerships with Avaya, Alcatel Lucent, Atos, Mitel. So around the globe, we have a number of those kind of key partnerships, and a particular one from a contact center aspect is NICE CX1 as well. So they're a partner of ours and have been for the past 6 or so years. But coming back to the innovation, and I'm going to sound like a politician because I've almost kind of dodged the question for a second, but innovation is almost kind of correlates to investment at RingCentral. So a really good example is over the past year, on our core platform, there have been over 250 new features added in, which kind of plays to the adage of the version of RingCentral you get today is the worst you'll ever get. And that's not a negative thing. If you think about it, it's more that there's continuous innovation, continuous development, which gets fed back into the product and new features coming in at a pace. But that innovation is underpinned by investment. It has to be. And this is an area where we're really proud because and again, you can look at the numbers around this, is that RingCentral actually spends close to double the amount of our closest competitors on R&D. So we are absolutely committed to ensuring that we have the right level of investment to make sure that we can drive the innovation that's required both by our customers from what they're asking for and also where we want to push the market as well.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Gareth. And I really appreciate, again, you taking the time out of your day to support Bytes in our innovation event for 2022. Massive appreciation there. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. My pleasure to have been part of it, and I hope it's a really successful summit for everyone.